Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal and Proud Podcast. I'm your host, Serena, and I would like to thank you for joining me for another exciting adventure. Before I get started, I want to remind everybody once again, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it is something that is very personal to me because I myself and many people I know do deal with some mental health issues, and honestly, getting over the stigma is one of the most important things we can do. And if you or anybody you know are dealing with this, it's okay to reach out. Sometimes just knowing that somebody cares is a huge deal. You should know you should never be ashamed or ever shame anybody when it comes to mental health. Thank you so much for listening to that, and on with our show. Ever since I can remember, I have been absolutely fascinated by the universe. Not just the universe, the potential of more life out there. I mean, if you look at it, it's more likely that there is life out there than there isn't. Just in our galaxy alone, there's so many stars and so many planets around those stars, there's gotta be one at least that is like us. There's a state park down in northern Arkansas called Devil's Den State Park, and from what I've seen in pictures, it is absolutely beautiful. But Devil's Den isn't called Devil's Den for absolutely no reason. It's got a darker side, and as far back as Native American history goes, they believe it to be cursed. According to Native American lore, that land has never been settled on by them. It's never been fished on, it's never been camped on, nor hunted on. It's just simply an area that they would pass through as quickly as they could and avoid being around. Even when archaeologists would go and do some research and try to find some Native American artifacts or burials, they would never come up with anything. They would find absolutely no proof that anybody has ever settled there, which is really strange because all around Devil's Den, they would find artifacts going back as far as thousands of years. So needless to say, the Native Americans avoided that area like the plague. Another reason why I wanted to research this is because not too long ago, I heard about it on a podcast called Astonishing Legends, which is actually pretty fascinating. They had a man on there named Terry Lovelace who explained his story. It turned out Terry and his friend had a very terrifying ordeal. It went from a nice laid-back vacation, kind of roughing it, to an absolutely horrifying experience. Terry Lovelace went on and wrote about it in a couple different books, one in 2018 and one in 2020. The first one was Incident at Devil's Den, and the next one was Incident at Devil's Den, The Reckoning. Terry has also been on countless podcast radio shows. He loves telling his story because he thinks it's really important to make people aware of what's going on. Terry's story isn't the only strange story to come out of Devil's Den, but we'll definitely get to his very soon. In 1947, a young girl named Catherine Van Arst went missing. She was only 7 years old, and she disappeared while she was with her family on a camping trip. It was in the morning, and her mom was making breakfast. Her mom called out to her and her siblings to come eat, and her siblings couldn't find her. Her mom said, get Catherine. Like, she was just here. Wasn't she with you kind of ordeal? So naturally, her family panicked and went looking for her. Catherine was only in a bathing suit, and she did not have any shoes on. Her whole family searched the immediate area with absolutely no luck, so they alerted the park officials, who started a search. The area could definitely be very dangerous with all kinds of creeks, ravines, cliffs, terrifying for a young girl to get lost in. They called for her, searched, and absolutely nothing. The search went on for several days, and it became a recovery mission after a certain amount of time. Hope was absolutely diminishing as the search went on for 6 days. Finally, on the 7th day, there was a search volunteer by a ravine, and he was calling out for her. Little Catherine came out of a cave and simply said, "Here I am." She looked tired, but she was fine. Catherine was covered in some bug bites, her feet were swollen, but overall she was healthy. She wasn't dehydrated. Her mom even checked her hair, and it was clean. She had washed it the night before she went missing. After that long missing, you would expect her to be dehydrated, sunburnt, completely malnourished, sick. She's lucky she survived. She had no recollection of where she was over the past several days. Where she ended up was about 6 miles and 600 feet higher in elevation from where she started. The thing is, though, when I say 6 miles, it was 6 air miles. The path she would have had to take to get there was about a 30-mile zigzag, which they figured would be nearly impossible for a girl of her age to cover in that amount of time. The area she was found was also previously thoroughly searched by aircraft. As I said before, she claimed to have no recollection other than she survived by eating berries and ended up in a cave. The park rangers had mentioned that there are several species of poisonous berries in that area, and the fact that if she did survive on berries, she just happened to know which ones to eat and which ones not to eat was astonishing. To this day, nobody really knows if she just miraculously survived on her own without any help from any adults, or if she had some help from aliens, fairies. There's all kinds of different thoughts out there. Some people have even said Bigfoot took care of her. But the sad part is I guess we'll really never know. Catherine's disappearance will always be a mystery. Just thankful that she made it through. One more case I find interesting as well is that of Rodney Letterman. He was a 33-year-old man from Oklahoma. He and his friend went for a hike down the Butterfield Trail at Devil's Den. The Butterfield Trail is a 14.9-mile loop, and it takes you through creeks, up high ridges, waterfalls, caves. Absolutely beautiful, but very difficult terrain to navigate at times. The friends had camped there the night before, and according to Rodney's wife, he had some blood pressure issues, and he needed medication for that. He told her that he wasn't feeling well before leaving on their trip, but he insisted on going. As the friends walked down the trail, Rodney had decided that he needed his blood pressure medications that were in the vehicle, and they were about a half-mile away. He wasn't feeling the greatest, so he sat down to rest while his friend went and got his meds for him. When his friend arrived back, Rodney had disappeared. Letterman was carrying his water, but he didn't have any of his camping supplies, no backpack or anything, just water with him. He wasn't a very experienced hiker either. After his friend looked for him a little bit, he called in some professionals, the search and rescue team. They were on horseback, they were on ATVs, they were on foot, they used drones, and they canvassed nearly 4,000 acres in and around the park the following week. Law enforcement really didn't release many details about the search other than the fact that he was not found. There was absolutely no trace of Rodney until February of 2019. A hiker had come forward to the park rangers, letting them know that they had found human remains on a hike. And it was a little bit strange because they had come across a skull cap on a log, which somebody actually misjudged for a turtle at first, actually an albino turtle. And it was only the skull cap, but then other remains were found nearby. Other than the fact that the remains were found, I couldn't find any other follow-ups after they identified who he was. I did a little digging, and other than the fact that his remains were found and he was identified, I can't find anything else on cause of death or any updates on the case. Of course, there's some rumors. It said that the police reported that he's known to go missing before. So I'm not exactly sure what that alludes to, but that could be something. He could have just wanted to get away. He could have had a health emergency and just wandered off. Maybe he was delusional or delirious due to very high blood pressure. There's also been a couple accusations about him possibly using opioids, but that's not something that we can confirm. Putting all the speculation aside, the case is still super tragic for his entire family. He simply wanted to go for a trip and ended up going missing and later found dead under strange circumstances. There have actually been quite a few tragic accidents at this state park, but most of them do seem like careless accidents of unexperienced hikers or just unfortunate mishaps. So overall, if exploring the wilderness is something you want to do, please take care doing so. Now on to the story of Terry Lovelace. Terry was a former medic in the Air Force, and later in life he became an attorney. He and his friend Tobias in 1977 decided to go camping in Devil's Den State Park. He and Toby were only in their early 20s and were on a short vacation from their jobs in the Air Force. They made the decision together that they were going to pass on the campsites with modern amenities like running water, power hookups, and search for a spot that was more remote to really rough it. Neither of them had ever done that before. They had never gone whole mountain man experience type camping. And he said they had no idea what they were doing. They passed up a ranger station. He said they dodged it. And they found a road. They ended up finding the road that went from pavement to gravel and dirt later on. Later in 2017, he discovered that they were actually on the property of the Bureau of Land Management, which was government property. As they went up a hill, they discovered a plateau surrounded by trees and all of the forest. The land was actually level with the treetops, so it was wide open. They could see for miles. Later on, Terry hypothesizes that he was pretty sure that it was meant to be in a UFO landing spot because of the grass that was regularly cut. So the U.S. government paid some person to go up there and keep that grass cut and manicured. The evening that they arrived, they did all the fun camping activities. They set up their tents, they started a fire, they roasted hot dogs and marshmallows, talked, had a great time. Later on, when they were sitting around their fire in the evening, as the sun was going down, Terry estimated the time to be about 9 p.m. As they chatted, the wildlife was so loud that they could barely hear each other, and they had to kind of shout over the crickets and the frogs and the campfire popping because they were sitting across from each other After a few minutes of talking, Terry noticed everything was quiet and still. The wind had even stopped. And he got a little concerned because of the quietness, since when does the wildlife completely shut off? Essentially, it was like a switch flipped. His friend Toby kind of shrugged it off, like, we were probably just being loud and disturbed them. They'll be back. But still, Terry just didn't feel right about it. He kind of had a funny feeling in the pit of his stomach. Kind of out of nowhere, he started noticing Toby staring past him. And he had asked, were those lights there before? And, I mean, the sky was dark, and there were stars, but it was pretty quiet. They didn't see a whole lot of airplanes or anything. And Terry asked him, what are you talking about? But once he adjusted, he had to look past Toby because Toby was in the way. He saw 3 lights that he described as looking like stars. The stars were in the shape of a triangle. They were mesmerized by this, and the light formation started to rotate, and then it also started going straight up into the air. And as this happened, Terry described a deep sense of calm that overcame him while the craft was rising up. And he noticed that it wasn't just lights, it definitely was a craft. After that, everything kind of went fuzzy. and Terry and Toby woke up much later. Terry noticed his clothes were on, but they were on as if somebody else had dressed him that really didn't know how to put clothes on. He said his socks were on kind of sideways, he was all disheveled, he was kind of a mess. When he and Toby looked out of the tent, there were what looked like children walking around the plateau. They were in pairs and also groups of 3, kind of exploring everything. But as he looked closer, he noticed that they definitely didn't appear to be human. He looked at Toby to see his reaction, and he saw a tear rolling down his face. Needless to say, the sense of calm didn't stick around then. Toby asked if Terry remembered that they took them and they hurt them. Terry started to get flashes of what had happened. It became clear that both men needed medical attention. They suffered some severe burns and dehydration. They had to be hospitalized for a couple of nights. While in the hospital, they were also interrogated by military officers about what they saw. For over 40 years, Lovelace has suffered from PTSD and had been triggered by even mannequins. He can't even walk across open fields because he's afraid he's going to get encountered by some kind of extraterrestrials. Terry now lives a pretty normal life. He does have flashbacks of what happened, and he does go into detail about that in his books, which are excellent, and all of his podcast appearances that I have listened to have also been excellent, so I really suggest you check it out. Years later, he did some investigations about the area that he and Toby had stumbled upon, the plateau, and it's still there. You can see that the grass still looks pretty good, and it's just mind-boggling that this had happened to him and that it's happening right in the middle of a forest. He truly believes that that land is specifically government-owned because it's an area where there may be a portal, it may be an aircraft landing zone. I mean, really, who knows? We all know that there is a lot that the government isn't telling us about extraterrestrials. They give us little bits here and there, but, they also keep a lot to their chest. The last experience I'd like to tell you about Terry, that in 2012, he had terrible knee pain upon waking. He went to the VA hospital and had an x-ray done on his right knee. They found a square object about the size of a fingernail with 2 wires attached. And in his calf muscle, they found a collection of bones in a floret pattern that was symmetrical. The doctor swore he had to have had some kind of surgery with this stuff implanted into his leg. But Terry had never had surgery on his leg at all. There wasn't even a scar. Terry was convinced that the extraterrestrials must have left something within him. Around then was when he was determined that he had to write a book about the experience. He was devastated because his story was so personal to him, but he needed to get it out. And he had never expected for his book to sell more than 100 copies. He expected to have boxes of books in his garage and give them away for free to his friends and family. But he felt like it would be more of a cathartic experience to put in writing what had happened to him. But since publishing the books, his first book alone sold tens of thousands of copies so far, and it sold in at least 13 countries. I definitely encourage you to read his book because what I summarized is only a small piece of the puzzle to what is a huge experience, and it's quite amazing. That wraps up some of the mysteries of Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. What do you think? Could it be aliens? Or could these young men have just been imagining all of this or making it up? I doubt it's the latter. Perhaps it's a portal that extraterrestrial ships could be utilizing to study our planet and its inhabitants. I just know I would absolutely love to take a ride through there sometime and explore a little bit. Probably not to the plateau because that's government property, and if you get caught trespassing on government property, they're not too happy with you. So by all means, if you explore, stay on the land that it is legal to be on. I'll actually be taking a trip down there next month to that general area, so maybe I'll take a little detour and check it out. I'll let you know if I do and if I find anything. Now, my beautiful beings, before I go, there's another show I would like to plug. Troubled Minds Radio with host Michael Strange is a podcast and radio show that has topics that will blow your mind. I mean, they live stream 5 nights a week on all different platforms, some of them including YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin. It's amazing. It's everywhere. It is the most interactive radio show in the known multiverse. You can go to troubledminds.org and check out everything Troubled Minds related. Michael also has a radio station that is digital broadcasting. KUAP Digital Broadcasting includes Troubled Minds plus a few other shows from other creators, including myself. Michael Strange also hosts a Discord server where you can talk about all things paranormal and meet other people like you who think outside the box. I will definitely put a link to his website in the show notes. Once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this fun journey. Everybody who listens and supports me, I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to see you again on the next episode of Paranormal and Proud. Have a great night.